All right, welcome back to another episode of Black Bear News. Today we're going to be covering Mark Mills talking about, the problems with EVs and supposed green energy, and he's going to outline some of the problems. This post comes via Joseph Wood. Thank you, Joseph, for sending me this video. Very informative. It's a longer video, but we're only going to listen to a short snippet, but what we're going to listen to is going to outline the problems pretty distinctly right from the get-go. Before we get into the video, please remember to like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, etc., etc. Also, I'm going to be doing a music show on YouTube this Sunday, so if you want to go to kevinsandbloom.com and check out how you can register for the online show performance on YouTube this Sunday, please do that as well.
That EVs are simpler or better is just not true in the engineering physics. They're differently complicated. They have different features, but they're not inherently better, and they're certainly not inherently simpler. They're just, as I said, they're differently complex. The battery in an EV, that 1,000-ton battery, is made up of thousands of components. Control systems, cooling systems, and safety systems, and power electronics, structural systems. That sounds an awful lot like an internal combustion engine, which is made up of hundreds, sometimes thousands, but usually hundreds of components to perform, a electromechanical feat, whereas a battery is performing electrochemical feat. Both of them are complex. They're just complexities are just in different places. The fuel tank in a conventional car is very simple. The propulsion system in an EV is simple. Both of them use electric motors, as it turns out, big ones and small ones. So that underlying fact, and then chasing down both the energy and economic consequences and emissions consequences, and again, these reliability and supply chain consequences, is where most analysts are not being serious or not being sufficiently curious, may be the most polite way to put it.
The other issue that they bring up is, and we've been discussing here, EVs take 5 to 6 times the amount of raw materials than a combustion engine. But to get those raw materials, you need diesel fuel, those big loaders, crushers, and yet they're trying to shut down exploring for energy. You've got Wall Street getting seats on the boards of Exxon, trying to get them to divest of producing energy. So if we have less diesel fuel or it gets more expensive, what does this do to mineral exploration?
And the interviewer points out a really great point, that the EVs, the batteries, require a lot more raw materials. And Mark Mills is going to go on to describe how much more energy and material intensive the batteries are than a regular car, before it's even on the road. But he's also pointing out the conundrum of you need diesel fuel, you need fossil fuels in order to make these things. You're not going to make them with electric power. Not right now. Not right now. So you're actually just trading one source of emissions and one source of fossil fuel burning for another, and that therein lies the rub.
Diesel fuel, those big loaders, crushers, and yet they're trying to shut down exploring for energy. You've got Wall Street getting seats on the boards of Exxon, trying to get them to divest of producing energy. So if we have less diesel fuel or it gets more expensive, what does this do to mineral exploration?
Well, the question answers itself. Prices go up. The energy cost to make a battery, to put this in sort of macro terms, takes about 100 barrels of oil equivalent of energy to fabricate enough batteries to hold the equivalent of 1 barrel of oil of energy. So there's a lot of energy involved in making batteries. Obviously, once you've made it, it lasts for a long time. But let me address two things that are relevant to this. One is sort of shadow boxing. For those who follow this issue, you've probably seen, and you may have heard, a lot of people claiming, "Oh, look, people who say things like I just said are not counting the weight of all the oil and gas. It has tonnage too. That has to be replaced and used over the life of a car. The fact I just gave, a little factoid, that 80 pounds of gasoline tank, that range requires 1,000-pound battery. The 1,000-pound battery doesn't have to be replaced it just gets refueled magically with electricity, electromotive force, but it doesn't have to be replaced because I have to put 80 pounds of gasoline in the tank every few hundred miles. So the physical weight difference is far greater than the 5 to 8x that you mentioned. The physical difference in total material footprint to build the vehicle, the factor is more like 100x. You have more like 100 times more total materials required extracted from the earth to build an EV compared to a conventional vehicle.
And that is where the problems arise, and where people don't see or are not aware of the issues with building EVs, and eventually, trying to rebuild our infrastructure or rebuild the things that we use every day in a greener way. We're going to end up, well, first of all, there was an article I was reading a few weeks ago about the fact that it took us 100 years to build all the infrastructure for everything that we use now. And if we're going to switch over to a green economy and we have to rebuild that infrastructure, not only how long is it going to take, how much energy is it going to take? We've already done so much damage to the planet. I don't think the planet can take much more infrastructure building. And those are just my thoughts on it. Anyways, I'm going to conclude this video here. Thank you all for tuning in and hanging out. And if you want to support the channel, there are ways to do it in the description box. All that. And I will see you on the next one. Until next time, peace.